Welcome in, everyone. Good to have you on the webinar today. We will get started in just a couple minutes. We're letting people trickle in. Good to see some familiar names and faces. Well, I guess no faces, but just familiar names. Um, I see some of my customers I work with regular basis, some old friends too. Um, to get us warmed up and make sure the chat's working, how many of you guys are going to attend either Adobe Summit in March or will be attending our IAPP privacy conference, the one in DC? How many of you are going to either of those events this next year? I know Adobe Summit's coming up, but let us know in the chat. For today's topic, we're going to get into SEO. So the topic is boost your SEO with ObservePoint. We're going to talk about use cases around SEO, some of our documentation, other resources. My name is Dylan Sellers. I'm the VP of Customer Success. I'm joined by Tom Robbins, one of our senior customer success managers. Tom has been here technically longer than me. He's like one of the he's a survivor. He's been ObservePoint longer than me, and I've learned a ton from Tom over the years. He leads our team in EMEA, and he is just a rock star. So Tom and I will walk you through some of these best practices, principles. And before we get started, I wanted to also add that many software companies, or not just software companies, many companies and many digital marketing teams have some an SEO tech stack. They have a tool set at their disposal, and ObservePoint probably will not replace or encompass all of those tools, but it will complement them. And the reason I imagine most of you actually probably have two or three. As I survey many of you at Edge or conference, or talk to customers just on regular Zoom calls, regular meetings, most of you have multiple technologies, and we want to introduce you to some of the capabilities of ObservePoint that will help you and complement those other technologies. So let's dive in. We will first do, so just to review the agenda. So we're going to recap over the last tip jar real quick. Tom is going to guide us through the ObservePoint SEO use cases, talk about resources, and demonstrate some of those in action. And so you'll get some visual. We're going to create an experience for you where you can see it in action, see the results, and then we have Q&A at the end. So make sure you use that Q&A function and in the chat. We'd love to hear and answer questions. And as always, our customer success team is at your disposal if you want to talk about any of these resources afterwards or implement them, or just reaching out with questions around strategy or something we covered today. Please don't hesitate to reach out. So a quick recap. We talked about the top use cases, top uses of the ObservePoint API. We reviewed some API basics. This is led by myself and Nick Suter on our customer success team. We talked about authentication, versions, pagination, rate limiting, some basic principles you need to consider that are unique to our API. They're common among all APIs, or REST APIs, but they are a little more unique for us. There are some popular API use cases we discussed, and then Nick went through an example actually of using a large language model to lower the barrier to entry in using our API, which I thought was a pretty cool tip that he shared. So you can go back and watch those. They're available on our resources section of our website. So looks like the chat was not yet enabled, so you can chat now. Let us know if you guys are going to Adobe Summit or IAPP. We'd love to see you at Adobe Summit. You guys can come by and get some socks at our booth. Next slide, Tom. Okay, so I put this in here just to pause and share a couple of product roadmap items that we're excited about. Upcoming in the near term, we have sitemap support, so the ability to we'll start to scan for robots.txt files, and we'll be able to ingest sitemaps as part of our crawling effort. So that will be it kind of ties into SEO a little bit. They're related topics, but this is more about making sure we can crawl and identify those pages. So that's coming soon. We also are working on live results for audits. So we won't be able to give you access to every report as the audits are crawling, but we're actually going to make it so you can see results coming in as the audit runs. It'll take a couple minutes to see the audits initiate and spin up, and then you'll start to see the tags, the pages we're scanning in real time, which will be a phenomenal upgrade to user experience. For those of you who are wondering, is this audit crawling pages that I intended it to, or are there any pages that it's crawled so far that I didn't mean for it to crawl? You'll be able to see those coming in real time. And then we have our account-wide reporting is a huge push and our focus for this next quarter. You're going to see some amazing things come out in the coming months on account-wide reporting. So be excited. This is going to be an incredible year for ObservePoint product development, and you guys are going to get to benefit from that. Let's dive into the core content for today. I'm going to turn it over to Tom Robbins.
Awesome. Thank you, Dylan. So, hey, everyone. As I mentioned, my name's Tom. I'm from the UK office. And today we'll be going through how we can boost your SEO performance. So we're going to run through some slides, and I'll jump straight into a demo here shortly. But when we look at what SEO is, hopefully everyone on the call understands what SEO is and what it does and what it's for. It's ideally to focus on your search engine optimization, making sure you drive the right traffic to the site, increasing your brand awareness, and making sure your website's performing as it should. So bring in the right traffic, making sure the customers and visitors who visit your site, giving them the best experience possible. So we'll dive into the metrics and what ObservePoint can do for you from a performance perspective. So to have great technical SEO, you want to start off with excellent website speed. So one of the things ObservePoint highlights, and I will show that in the audit results, is Web Vitals. So we want to make sure your website is performing as it should. You want to make sure it's fast, and for the visitors who hit the site, making sure it actually displays correctly and there's no slowness with the speed of the site. So you want to make sure you get return visitors hitting your site all the time. And we'll show some metrics as well around the Web Vitals part. We now show that in an audit view, and we'll dive into how we can create some alerts to make sure you're proactive with any potential issues you have with your website speed. With that as well, you want better crawlability. So we want to make sure when a visitor hits the site, they have a great experience. So therefore, you don't want any broken pages, broken links. So we don't want people to drop off. So making sure the site is easy to crawl around and gives the best experience for that customer. Enhanced security. So enhanced security is a big thing for SEO. So that's ranked quite high on making sure you score quite highly from a ranking perspective. So making sure all your pages are secure does give you increases your score from a ranking point of view. So making sure that's in place is a key thing here. And obviously low bounce rates. So from a visitor's perspective, you want to make sure your customers don't drop off. So are they seeing slow loading pages, images appearing correctly? Are they coming across broken pages, broken links? So this is where you want to make sure all your visitors who come will stay and return. So making sure you have low bounce rates coming from your site as well. Accessible to all users. So inside the ObservePoint audit results now, we expose the accessibility for kind of understanding how your website should be from a WCAG standard. So in June this year, in the EU, there will be a new law coming out to make sure that all sites follow these standards. So this is basically how sites are structured from a kind of a content perspective, making sure that that whole site experience is accessible for all users. And I'll show that inside the audit results when we get to it shortly. And then user structured data. So this is where, in particular, I'm going to talk about the JSON LD string, where how your search engine will speak to the site. So your site will have several different pages, articles, product pages, homepage, contacts pages. So you want to have a structured data approach. So your search engine finds it easy enough to know what page, and obviously then appear higher in the search results when somebody searches for your information. So that's something we'll discuss today inside the audit results. And how we do that is via audits. So audits, as you know, will crawl all the pages. Here's a snapshot of what we currently do. And I'm going to expose what else we can do as well. This is just a snapshot of kind of looking at our tags, the variables we capture, what tags across all your pages. But we're going to dive into more of the performance related topics as well. So I'm going to show you how you can extract data from the page from an SEO perspective, display it in a tag, and also look at the web vitals as well we expose. So this is kind of the recommended plays we recommend to all our clients. So here are the three functions that you should have inside your SEO audit. Basically, we're extracting data from the page. So whether it's looking at the word quantity, the alt images on your tags and pictures, it's exposing everything on the page and return it back into ObservePoint. We recommend add this to your audit, and we recommend to scan this on a weekly basis at minimum as well. So you could scan it daily if you want. But the idea is to be very proactive with identifying broken links, broken pages, slow forming pages as well. So here's an opportunity to have a quick overview of your site performing badly. So having these audits run at a higher frequency will expose that information as well. And how we do that as well is via standards. So standards, so we'll talk about how we add the alerts to the custom data tag. But here is basically what alerts you'd have across all the different metrics we'll suppose. So looking at broken links, broken pages, slow loading pages as well, different type of metrics we capture, but also the core SEO metrics you want to focus on as well. So we want to highlight any potential issues you have across the site. And we offer some great standards as well. So the CSMs on the call and your team can help you build these standards in your audits as well. So these are some of the standards rules that we want to share with you today. I will go through this in more detail during the demo, but here are some examples that you can add straight away to your audit to get understanding how well your website's performing from an SEO perspective. So you can see there's quite a few. There are many more as well, which we can certainly add. But what we'll do now is we'll jump over to showing you inside the demo. Let me just change my screen. First of all, I want to kind of show you where in the help documentation we have it here. So in the help section, you've got all this information that can help you build the custom tag, goes through the accessibility, the web vitals, broken links as well. And you can see the new additional information we capture from a page performance perspective as well. I'll scroll down. And at the bottom here, we have 3 SEO custom tags. In these pages here, what you'll see is all the information we collect from the page. We can change this as well. We can customize it if you require. There's other variables or other bits of metric data you want from the page. We can adapt it as well. And here is the code you can use as well. So really straightforward to do. You can just copy this code and then add it to a custom action inside your audit results. Excuse me. There are obviously there's 3 types. So you've got your basic SEO, SEO validating your JSON LD string, and some more technical SEO. So really straightforward to add, and you can then add that to your audit results. Audit will run, collect the data, return it back into an ObservePoint tag as well. So that's kind of how we structure the audit from an SEO perspective.
Yeah, let me comment on this, Tom. With these 3 different custom tags, there's the basic SEO data, there's the SEO details, and then JSON LD. The basic SEO data is actually going to look for certain criteria and evaluate and provide like a pass-fail result. This details one that you're looking at now is valuable because it will expose the details of each of these attributes. So for example, as it crawls every page, it'll actually capture the full value of the meta description and other meta keywords and meta tags, page titles, image elements, etc. So if you're asking yourself, maybe you're presented with the question of, well, does every single meta description on our website have these keywords? You can do an inventory of every meta description on your website and answer that question. Once you collect it, you can export it with auto exports. You could share a copy of an Excel file with all those meta descriptions. You could search it, analyze it throw it in a large language model, ask it to analyze it. There's lots of things you can do with the data once we've collected it. So just a couple of examples. This is a little bit more, I mean, meta descriptions is a good blend of technical SEO use case and also content SEO, because the values matter, the content that you put in those meta descriptions matters, and there's a lot of strategy behind it. But definitely, this is where we overlap a little bit with content SEO. Most of today is about technical SEO, but using meta description inventories, or also we have a keyword search capability. Those can be useful for our SEO teams. So just want to call that
Awesome.
out.
Thanks for jumping in there, Dylan. Thank you. So yeah, so what we'll do now, I see there's a question in the chat, but I'll kind of digress and go into the results, because I'm going to show you now how you add the custom tags to the audit, show you the results, and how you build alerts on top of it now. So I'm going to jump into the actual audit and walk you through how you can add it really easily to your audit actions. So I've got a 100-page audit which I've created, and if I go and edit, go in and add the on-page actions. So this is where you add your individual scripts that I showed previously in the help documentation. So each one is doing a different function. It's always doing extracting data from the page, as Dylan mentioned, all the meta information, and you can see it'll expose everything that you need it to. As I said, it can be customizable, so you can pull anything from the page if you need. But this example is focusing on the technical SEO perspective. And each one is added as an individual action, and then each one has to be triggered on every single page. So what we're doing here is deploying an action to each page, extracting data out, and then displaying inside the audit results. Pretty straightforward. If you do need CSM to help you, then yeah, feel free to go and ask them as well. So once we jump into the audit, we'll focus on the Web Vitals part first, and I'll jump straight there. So when you look at kind of the page speed and want to understand how well you're doing for an SEO perspective, and we've added this new kind of feature here, looking at the Web Vitals part of your site. So first one is looking at the largest contactable paint. So when you first bit of basically largest image or largest paragraph or video loaded on the page, how quickly is that loading and starting to load on the page? So from our perspective, when someone visits the site, how quickly are they seeing the kind of the largest item on the page? And the cool thing about this as well, you can create alerts really easy as well. So you click on the little bell icon. I've got one here already, but straight away, create a new alert, and it does it all for you. Add your email address, and best practice is usually kind of defined for you straight away. So anything over 2.5 seconds, you'll receive an alert. So this is on average across all of the pages. We do it individual pages as well. So if you do see a spike, we can dive into a particular page and see why that page is loading so fast, so slow. Then you've got the first contactable paint. So first image or first bit of text comes to the page. How quickly is that appearing as the visitor hits? And you can see we've got a trend line. So is it improving? Is it getting better? You can see here. And again, you can add your alert to see when there's potential issues. Again, it's average across the whole audit as well. You've got time to first byte as well. So that's basically when the first byte from the server hits the site, how responsive your page is, and when the visitor hits. We recommend it should be less than 800 milliseconds. You can see here up and down, but in general, it's going at a good rate here. And again, you can add alerts. And the final one on the far side here, you can see the cumulative layout shift. So basically, does anything move on the page as you load? Is the layout kind of not kind of flaking everywhere and is all adjusting to the right place? So if that does, obviously, an experience point of view, it's not very good if a visitor sees images like juddering around the page, if that happens. Again, you can add an alert here. So from Web Vital point of view, we show you at the audit level, but we also show at a page level as well. So if there's a certain page you have and see kind of causing problems, you can dive into the page level as well to see if there's a particular piece of item or content on the page, image, video, causing any issues as well. So that's something we'll showcase here.
I was going to comment on this. Some kind of a it's not a secret, but something that I think is less obvious to some people is that you can expand some of these, like this box plot chart, for example. Let's take largest contentful paint, or yeah, time to first byte is fine. You can see those trended over time, which is pretty remarkable. And the goal here was to just provide as much detail as possible. If we have more data over more time, you can see, we can expand this to 13 months, and you can start to see how those trend over time. This becomes super important when you're trying to answer questions like, did that new refresh of that web page cause a significant dip in performance, or did that tag release cause a significant dip in performance? It's also critical to understand with any page performance testing that there are different environments in which we're running these tests, and so ObservePoint is an apples to apples comparison. If you're comparing with ObservePoint previous runs. So if we ran it last week and we're comparing it to this week, and we saw a 20% increase in time to first byte, for example, we can expect similar results on your local machine or any other device. But you want to use percentages. You don't want to use necessarily seconds or those units, because you may compare ObservePoint to results to a device with different internet speeds, different CPU, different memory, a different time of day where the servers are faster to respond. So remember, there's a lot of those variables, but you can rely on ObservePoint to have consistent um, environmental parameters as we run these tests, which I think is one of the most important things to understand as you run and look at the results and interpret them.
Yeah, thanks, Dylan. And as you mentioned here, you can change it by if it change over run by certain percentages as well. So if you look at that as well, you can do it via the alert mechanism. Um, so yeah, so on top of that, you can see my alert kind of library here, which I've created, and we've got some homework to do from an ObservePoint's point of view. So we've got some pages that have been flagged up as potentially causing some problems from a low perspective. And you can see another top two here, any broken final pages, any broken links. So all this is regarding is the performance and the experience a customer hits when they hit your website. And that obviously increases your SPO because the site's performing a lot better than it should. So that's kind of the alerts mechanism here. I did mention accessibility at the beginning of the call, so that is available at the page level. I will mention that we are going to release something that will be at the audit level, similar to the Web Vitals. But the accessibility is basically looking at the WMCA standards, WCA, I think it's called, and it looks at all the kind of the context on the page. So making sure from an accessibility point of view, everything looks correct. So color contrasts, making sure images and all the elements have the right attributes. So this basically looks at that there. And you can see here some examples, 1 being critical, 6 being serious here. And basically what we can see is what elements have been flagged up as potential problems for us. And the great thing about this, it points to the element, but then it tells us the solution as well. So what we have to do to resolve this problem. So at the moment, this is at the page level. It will be at audit level, but it's a way to make sure that you can follow the standards, especially in the EU. In June, as you know, there will be an EU Act being released to make sure all sites comply with the right standards as well.
Yeah, I'll comment too, Tom. There's a link to documentation. So you see 1.4.6 highlighted kind of in the center of the screen. You can see that will take you to the official documentation, which is probably, this is like the Bible of accessibility here. So that's one of the best ways for you to quickly not only interpret results but act on them, is make sure you understand and have this reference, and then we make it just so accessible to you within our product, which is awesome. It prevents you from having to do a lot of research and have a headache. Also, one more thing I'll call it time to go back to the app is that many of our customers, while they're waiting for us to launch our account-wide and audit-wide reporting for this, I really strongly recommend you find out what are those key landing pages, those key pages that your SEO teams have built a strategy around, that they're focused on optimizing. Most people are not optimizing their entire website. Most are optimizing a targeted set of strategic pages that they expect people to convert on. And you can go there and with this kind of fine-tooth comb and this page details view, go and optimize those pages. We will have some content in the future on accessibility. We'll talk a lot about the European Accessibility Act because that's a hot topic this year. We will have some big accessibility releases this year. But I would really emphasize starting on targeting those pages. I've had a lot of customers say, "Hey, I need this export of like my entire website or tens of thousands of pages," but they've got critical problems on their homepage, or they have critical problems on some of their product page templates that need to be addressed first. So, eat the elephant one bite at a time. That's my recommendation. And remember too that 2.1 AA is the standard that Europe and the United States are going to expect people to comply with. So you can see here, this is a AAA, requirement. So just know that you can adjust those filters, and you should focus on those single A and double A standards first.
Cool. Thanks, Dylan. So yeah, that covers the accessibility part, as I mentioned. So we'll take a look at what the custom actions create inside your audit now. So we'll jump into the output we get from having those actions run on the site. So we go into the available inventory, and you can filter by the ObservePoint data. This is basically ObservePoint sending data back to itself, and then we kind of look at the variables and metrics we've captured during that scan. So here we'll break down in all the different values and metrics we captured. We're looking at quite a lot of information, but from an SEO perspective, it's key information to make sure that you follow. I will go through shortly some of these in the rules, but what we see here is metadata from the page being pulled into ObservePoint, and you can see all the different values you've captured as well. And what we tend to do in here is define it as a pass or fail, depending on the requirements we set. So here, majority of the pages will come through either pass or fail, but it does give you a ton of information about the kind of what we're looking for from an SEO perspective as well, and why it's kind of important to have these in place. You can see there's another one here, which a bit more information around the key metrics regarding the SEO topic. And then finally here, you've got your JSON-LD string. So we know this is super important because this is kind of the data structure search engines require or need to understand how your site is. So it looks at different types of metrics and values, especially on certain pages, such as article pages and product pages and homepage. Is something that defines what the page is, which it makes it easier for the search engine to find you. So for example, if I look at this one here, you can see some of the data points that we've collected, or the author names of each kind of article being added to the page. So it just makes it easier for the search engine to find that bit of content via a search perspective. We'll jump into the tag rules because these are the rules which you can add. And you can see we've got some homework to do on our site as well. So making sure we comply and make sure we have a good SEO perspective. But there are some here. So for example, word quantity, you can see it's failed on 62, passed on 38. So from an SEO perspective, to score higher, you usually need more than 500 words on your page. So this is all around making sure you're scoring much higher in your SEO perspective. Things like having a robot text metadata tag on all pages is super key, because then it allows you to index the pages correctly, easier for the search engine to find the right pages as well. So you can see we're missing on some here. And there are some other content as well. So making sure the structure of the page, for example, your H1, H2 tags are appearing correctly as well, or the page title not appearing. That's going to cause flags for an SEO perspective. So here what we're doing is we're exposing what information we collect and giving you insights into what pages particularly could be causing you hazards when from an SEO perspective. I think that was everything I wanted to cover there. Yeah, I think that's everything from an SEO perspective I wanted to expose, and the insights I want to give. Dylan, was there anything we wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I think maybe some of the most important things is just to do the discovery, right? Like even before we apply these rules, doing the discovery, understanding. As you pulled some of those variable value examples, we saw different authors, for example, and like making sure that that format is what we're expecting. And making sure that your teams are aware of this resource. I've actually worked with some pretty huge companies, some of the largest companies in the world, and many of them will say, "Well, we don't have an automated SEO tool," and it baffles me a little bit. That they and my the good news I get to share with them is like, "Hey, you do. It's called ObservePoint. You just didn't realize it could be applied this way." And what ObservePoint is, we're ambitious. We're going to create the world's greatest web scanner, and we are going to continue to provide better experiences around SEO and SEO capability as time goes on. But the web accessibility, the page performance, the insights that we can pull by scraping the HTML using our custom tags, all this it contributes to that search ranking. So there's a ton of capability now. It takes a little bit of piecing it together, which is why we felt this was appropriate to have a whole webinar dedicated to this and to make sure we answer your questions. And please challenge your customer success team to help you implement this like in the next week. They would love to be involved and love to help provide this resource for you. And make sure that you understand the results. Our help documentation has some pretty good descriptions of these topics, but there's so much information out there on each one of these. And I had a question from in the chat from Josh Teague. Like you can modify some of this, you can customize it. Like if the schema or the structure or the reporting doesn't fit exactly the format you're hoping for, like all this is tweakable. It's customizable, especially if you're comfortable with JavaScript. But if you're not, come to us. We'd love to help. We have all of our team members are pretty technical. So I'm thinking, make sure I see a couple more questions. Let me just make sure we answer some of those. Is that on the page level or audit level, the tag rules section? So good question, Grace. It's available at the page level and audit level. What you're seeing here is the audit summary of the rules and their statuses, but you can drill into any page. Tom, as you drill into any of those pages below. And as you pull it open, you can go to the rules tab and you can see details there. You can see why the rules failed. It'll tell you exactly what criteria was missing. In the case of the SEO custom tag rules, we're looking for the word past. That's the logic that we're using because all of them should evaluate past or not past. And you can also modify that and customize that too. So another I wanted to maybe demonstrate, Tom, while we're here, if you can go to variable inventory and go to that SEO details tag, the one with the meta descriptions. I thought it'd be interesting to see even our own meta descriptions at ObservePoint. If you scroll down, I think it was in this list, 42 unique values.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, it's third from the top, meta description.
Oh, okay.
42 unique values. So here's an example of what the output will look like. It shows the entire description, and then we count the characters in it. So that's a good example of the type of insight. And from here, as I mentioned earlier, you could inspect this, you could export it, you could start to look at the values and see, hey, does this match the keywords that we're targeting? Does this match like our strategy for SEO this year, or do we need to go and refine our meta descriptions across our website? So question from Chris, is there a connection available to send audit results to Google Looker/Data Studio? Chris, there's no out of the box connection, but we have a solutions team that builds these integrations with our customers at no cost. So we'd love an opportunity to help you set that up. Our account-wide reporting, which I hinted at earlier, that's coming this next quarter, is going to allow you to build custom reports inside of ObservePoint in a tabular format, meaning rows and columns that you can filter, sort, group, etc. And that makes them very they're formatted or they're in a perfect form to be exported and then imported into Looker or imported into Data Studio. So that would be not a fully automated solution, Chris, but actually, depending on the cadence in which you're pumping this data out, it may not be a burden to you to export and upload. But we are also working with that new reporting system. There will be an API that we could leverage. So more on that. There's no native connector, I guess is what my point, my short answer, Chris. But we have a team that's happy to help you build the connections. And that new reporting will make it, I think, 100 times faster for people to accomplish that because they'll be able to format the report inside of ObservePoint and with a nice drag and drop interface and clickable capability, and then we'll simply export that and then ingest that into those systems. So really, really powerful for third-party BI integrations. That will be a big pattern we see as we launch account-wide reporting. Is I think a lot of people want to get the data out into Looker, into Domo, into Tableau. And we also had a webinar last year. We had a couple of webinars, TipJar, on BI third-party BI integration. So you can go check this out, Chris. In the meantime, we'll probably do a refresh though with the new account-wide reporting. Great question. Any other questions for Tom or I? Okay. Tom, thank you so much. We're thrilled that you guys participate today. We're thrilled for the engagement and the turnout today. We'll continue to send our team questions and follow up and over email. We'd love to have a conversation with you or with your CSM. You can reach out to myself or Tom directly. My email is just Dylan at observepoint.com. And then Tom is tom.robbins. So we're happy to share expertise, hop on a follow-up call with you, and provide more insight. And if you had feedback for today's webinar, questions about any of the new releases that we talked about, let me know, and we'd love to get back to you and share what we can and get feedback from you. So thanks everyone. Good to see some familiar names and have a wonderful week.
Thanks, everyone.